Good evening, welcome to the Midweek Fix. It's me, Chris Brack, and it's him, Kev O'Sullivan, with his nice new shiny face. How you doing, Kev?
New shiny face. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Look, I'm down to like at this thing at the minute where I'll try anything to get a win. It's like I'll wear the same jumper if we won in that jumper before. We've lost against Forest, right? I'm gonna have a shave, get rid of the beard, and we'll try that this time. But no, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. After I watched the Rake games tonight, to be fair, I was flicking between all of them.
What did the Juventus game finish off? I've got to check that.
4-3 in the end. I settled on the Dortmund one, and in fairness, it was probably one of the better 0-0s that I've watched in a while. Up until it got to 70 minutes, and they both decided we're going to do an Austria-Germany from the 1982 World Cup, and we're just going to leave here with a draw. Thank you very much. Suits us both.
Yeah, is that your burner account there, Butterpants, asking who's the young man on the right? So Juventus are already out of Europe, which is probably a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, but there was a story that broke today, apparently, that the Italian prosecutors have charged Juventus with improper conduct on transfer dealings. And
who'd have thunk it?
Improper declarations on loan fees.
Isn't that what they got done for Arthur Mello for?
Yeah. Well, it's going to go to court next year, early next year. So see where it goes with that. But look.
So I think in other news, Dortmund and City are both through. Draw City both for them. City top group. Dortmund guaranteed second.
Yeah, Celtic out.
Celtic out. They won't even make Europa League. And I actually think Leipzig are through because I couldn't.
They beat Madrid. Timo Werner scored a lovely goal. Really lovely goal late on. But yeah, they're through as well, I think.
And I think the game to watch next week is Group E, isn't it? Chelsea are through. Milan are second on 7. Salzburg are third on 6 points. Milan versus Salzburg, last game of the group.
Well, the reason we're here is because we are hoping that tomorrow night our group is settled, done and dusted, and we ain't got to worry about what happens next week. Otherwise, all eyes in Europe will be on Anfield.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I hope it's not.
No. So supposed to best talk about Liverpool, haven't we?
Yeah, we may as well. I mean, in fairness, there's been a lot going on today. I woke up this morning to see that Michael Edwards was going to Manchester United,
which everyone believes.
The sky was falling in.
Yeah, Mel Reddy's defunct that, though, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has. Sorry, she has. But it was an eye opener to see how many people were willing to believe it, all on the strength of a few ITKs.
Well,
a lot of people look silly today. Yeah, but a lot of people look silly today on the back of that.
Arsenal for Life says, "Wow, Kev looks unrecognisable, just like Liverpool this season." I don't know if that's a compliment or not. To be honest,
I think that's a backhanded slap across the face, but I'll take it. I feel
like it is. So, right. So let's talk about Ajax then. So, from the press conference, it sounds like they've been getting a bit of stick as well, because I think they've been a bit erratic by their standards. Come for the local press is saying for them, which is.
They've won their last 2, but they're against mid-table sides, and I think they won it. They won their last 2 games a combined 11-2 or 11-3, something like that. But ever since the game at Anfield, they've been on a really dodgy run. They're still top of the league, but it's PSV are really, really tight. And I think the thing is they are in the middle of a massive rebuild. And they have sold an awful lot of top talent, and they're bedding in new players. They've got some recognizable names that we knew going into the first leg against us, but there was an awful lot of unknown quantities as well. The likes of Kudus.
Kudus played well.
Yeah, Broby. He was another one, a striker. Phillips in midfield was one I'd never come across before. Bassi at centre back, never come across him before. So they're key positions, and they were bedding in key players. And you look at the players that they lost in Haller, who was on fire last year for them. So they were always going to be a bit erratic. But the thing is, with Ajax, they're very similar to Celtic Rangers in the respect that the fans expect, absolute perfection, dominance in the league, and be competitive in Europe and go into the knockout stages of the Champions League. So, look, sleeping dragon without the beard and the glasses. Kev literally didn't recognize Kev. Literally forgot my glasses in work today. So inside of my desk in my workshop is my glasses, and I am half blind.
Kev can't see any of it. He's just making this up as he goes along.
Yeah. I mean, I could see small little bits like Kieran be sad about. It absolutely was a very important thing for men, especially, and something that men get squeamish about, and check yourself. You know what I mean? Every day, have a little feel. If something doesn't feel right, phone your GP. Just your daily bit of health advice. But look, it is serious, and Seb Haller, we just wish him a speedy recovery. And it's really important that when you see something like this happen, that guys especially take the advice, and if something's not right, go and see a doctor about it. Earlier the better.
It is. Right. So let's go into team news then. So we both saw the precedent, mate. On YouTube. So Virgil was, the Virgil one we'll gloss over because I'll be honest, he just said very much stock standard interview answers. Nothing really exciting there. Klopp seemed fairly chipper, I thought. It seemed all right. Seemed his usual self.
Go on, sorry.
I said, so it brought out, I think the remark that seems to have got a few people wound up is we've got no Keita or Chamberlain next week, no shock. He said, but they're not in the squad because we didn't expect them back this time soon, which is then brought up the whole conversation about the medical department because we don't have officially a club doctor. It's being covered by a couple of people in the medical team. So, we have got medical people there, just not an official club doctor. And it's one of them. I wasn't too surprised when they weren't named in the squad because I thought the ultimate type of injury they've got, they're thinking the touch and go to make any games. And even now, Keita, he's only training 2 days ago.
2 days,
So he's not even if he was registered, he wouldn't have played in this game. Might have made the bench for Napoli. Chamberlain, he's on the bench, but Klopp has already hinted he doesn't really seem great fitness wise. I think he's a few weeks away. So
I'd say he's at least 3 weeks away. The thing is, he hasn't kicked the ball in anger in a long time. We don't know the extent of the injury that he had. It's never been declared, fully.
We know the Ox one was a bad hamstring.
The Ox one was a hamstring.
Keita, we don't know what it is. We just know it's a muscle injury, which could be anything.
Could be anything. And the thing is, if he's not been able to do the gym work that others have, then if he's been literally touching grass for the first time in 2 weeks, he's joining now in first team training. He's still going to be at best, at the absolute outside best, might get a place on the bench next week. Well, but next week against Napoli, if you were that desperate, you know what I mean? He might have been available for the bench and maybe might have got 10 minutes out of him. But the truth of the matter is, when we had to name the squad, you looked at the Ox's injuries and you thought, okay, you know how long this great hamstring takes. You know how long it takes to get back. So is he going to be available for the last 2 games? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. And he still is probably not. Yeah, he was on the bench against Forest, but when he came on, he was anonymous. And that's not his fault. It's just, look, he's just not ready. He wasn't ready, so...
And neither of them are players who are renowned for coming back early from injury.
Yeah.
Some players, if they say 4 to 6 weeks, some players just can get back quicker. It's just a fact of life. Some can, we got Trent back a lot earlier than we expected, which is helpful. So
Malcolm, are you heading into work at 7:10 in the morning in Brisbane where he is at the minute? His girlfriend is probably sat next to him, telling him all kinds of ways to shut up. So how's it going there, mate?
James Stevens saying, hope we don't play Ox or Naby. We need that injury free so we can offload them in January. That'd be the dream, but it's because they're not going to get used. But I don't think anybody wants them. I mean, if I was Cater's advisor, I'd be saying, sit tight, mate. Go and have your pick of your clubs in the summer. Why wouldn't you? And I think
Yeah, if you're advising him, then yeah, you would. If you're his agent, then unless an offer comes in that look, it's now or never type of offer. If this club probably won't come knocking in the summer for you, you might as well take it now. Then you never know. But I mean, the squad, from what I can see, Ibu comes back in.
I don't think he plays though.
No. But he comes back into the squad, and it's more or less the same squad that played against Forest, I think.
Well, I think Nunes is back. He said Nunes is trained.
Nunes and Ibu come in, but other than that, it's more or less the same. So,
I mean, we'll talk with Liza, but I'd expect Nunes to start because I think the way Klopp was talking pre-match for Forest, he was saying if this game had been Sunday or Monday, he probably would have featured.
He would have been fine, yeah.
He said this game's just the time of the game was just too early for him to be fully ready. So if he was touch and go for Forest or touch and go for a Sunday game, then he should be fine for Tuesday. I understand why we don't risk him. Thiago's not travelled, inner ear infection. You don't tend to be able to fly with one of them. Fingers crossed he should be fine for Leeds. Matip still out with this calf injury. Don't know how long he'll be. And obviously the other three, Jota, Diaz and Mello, are all long-term.
Long-term,
Ramsey, I don't think he travelled, did he? So I would assume he's going to do a bit more under-23s football just to get himself.
It'd be interesting to see if Ramsey might be in. Oh no, he's probably too old, isn't he, for the under-19s?
Probably is, yeah. Ramsey might get his first start against Derby.
Oh yeah,
that might be the game. That might be the game to at least get him.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the results go well tomorrow night, and we get what the result that we need tomorrow night, that Ramsey plays against Napoli the week after. I wouldn't be surprised.
You'd like to think so, because I mean that is the game to rotate. Because realistically,
we've got to get there first.
We've got to get there first. We're not really going to get top spot, are we?
Yeah. No, I mean that's just not going to happen. I mean. Well, saying that, no, it's not. Let's be honest.
Well, no, the only way it works is I think it has to work on we beat Ajax, and I think we have to beat Napoli 4-4 at Anfield to go on the head-to-head.
Yeah.
I don't see Napoli conceding 4.
No.
Well, even if we play our strongest 11, I think that'll be a hard ask to say to beat them 4.
Let's be honest.
Let's be clear. They're the most informed side at the moment.
They're the most informed side in Europe that I've seen. They're the best side in Europe that I've watched this season by a good margin as well. They're on fire at the minute, and we learned to our expense in the first week that this Napoli side are no joke.
Yeah, and Santana makes a good point. Ajax will need to win by 2 goals really to get a better head-to-head against us. There is that. Yeah. I mean, there is a world where we could actually lose both games and still qualify. But to be honest, I don't really want to go into that world.
I really don't want to go there.
I'm not sure I could
be asked for that. I really don't want to go there.
No, but Sam is right in what he says because it goes head-to-head first before it goes to goal difference. So, lineup-wise, I would say there are a couple of positions that I think are dead certs. So I'll tell you what I think are dead certs, and then we'll talk about where the debate position. Now, I'm going to say Salah's a debate, but it's not that he starts. I think it's where he starts. So I think Alisson starts.
Yeah.
Trent will be right back because he was rested at the weekend and come back from injury. Gomez and Van Dijk because the only other option is Nat Phillips. And then I think the 2 holding mids, it probably has to be Fabinho and Henderson because
it does,
either you put a youngster in, and Curtis Jones got slated at the weekend. It was his first game.
There is an argument to play Milner for an hour.
There is. I'm not a fan of Milner start. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. I think he's better coming off the bench.
Yeah, I agree.
But needs most in some sense.
It's one of those because of the situation of the group and the result that we need to get out of tomorrow night. This is where I hate to say that Klopp could do a madness, okay? But I don't think either of us have picked an 11 and been absolutely spot on.
No.
So it's mental really where this could go. I mean, Robertson started left back, yeah? I think he'll go with Fabinho and Henderson in the middle of the park. This is a game that we got to get something out of. So
yeah.
And it probably gives both of them the best chance to build up some kind of form, because Fabinho he was poor against Forest, but he wasn't helped by having Curtis next to him. And it didn't do Curtis any favors sticking him in a 6 for the first time ever in his first start in God knows how long. It did him absolutely no favors. And neither of them had any faith in each other where they needed to be. So I could definitely see Henderson and Fabinho starting.
And you sort of got the impression from Klopp's press conference, he was also saying it was a bit of a mad game. He said, we lost players late. He said, and I also had players in the squad who I was told could only play 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is probably Oxford Chamber. That might have also been the Trent, because I've seen obviously quite a few asking why do you not start Trent Henderson because of the injury? Maybe there's sports science behind the fact is they're carrying knocks, or Trent's just back from an injury. You can't do back-to-back until he's to a certain level. Jonathan saying, if the 3 English clubs top the groups, there's a 75% chance we get Bayern, PSG, or Real Madrid in the knockout stage. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, just want to be in there.
Yeah, to be honest, you want to be in it, and it's like anything. And we've seen this. We've been foul of this. We've also worked in our favour where February's a long way away, and form could be a lot different. In February we could be flying, and Real Madrid could be absolute dog shit.
You don't know.
And you've had the flip where we've been flying out of groups, and then you get to February and
we're in a real mire. So
we're in a mire. Then it's like a real where Inter Milan a few years ago with the Gerrard game became a really tough game because Inter Milan were flying, and we just got knocked out by Barnsley in the FA Cup. So it's hard to really judge it yet until you get to February. Look, if we keep playing like we have been playing this season, I don't think it matters who we play because we haven't been playing well enough.
I've seen a lot of the lads in the chat saying about Curtis starting. How would you line up the front 4 then? Assuming we do play a 4-2-3-1 or a version of it.
First, so I'm assuming Robertson starts left back.
Yeah.
Because he's back to full fitness now, you would think. I mean, look, if Simicast starts, it's no real problem with it because he did well in the home game. But I'm assuming Robertson will start. I think you try and go as strong as possible. I've been debating this in my head because part of me thinks you've got to play Firmino with 10, but I mean, it's a lot of back-to-back games, and I wondered how much you can cope with that. Speaking with, I bumped into Neil Atkinson from the Outfield Rap after the women's game, and we just had just a general chit-chat about Liverpool. And he mentioned something which I thought I've not seen before, is trying Elliott on the left, just to something different. Just to see if it works. He's naturally left-footed, and it's a way of giving us a bit of width, and he's a bit more experienced than Carvalho. Because you've said to me some of the problems with Elliott on the right is because he cuts in, he makes it very narrow. Which if Trent's flying, you're great, but Trent's not flying. He's not been in great form at the moment. So whether he'll throw that in for an Ajax game, I'm not sure. I think he might go Elliott right, Firmino in the middle. I think he might go Jones left, and Sal through the middle. I'm debating whether Nunes starts. That's the one I'm debating with Nunes. If he's fit enough, I'd start Nunes left, but it's how fit he is. I'd quite like Nunes to start because before the little niggle, he'd done well in the last 2 games.
I could see a case for starting Curtis on the left, Harvey on the right. Flip him in game if you want to, and put Darwin and Salah up top. The thing is, Ajax are the kind of side. I don't think Ajax will park the bus. It's not a case that I don't think they're capable of it. I just don't think it's in their instinct to do it. And especially at the Cruyff Arena, it's full house. It's going to be absolutely hopping. The atmosphere in there is going to be intense, and they're going to push their players forward. And you want space for Salah and Darwin Núñez to play in. I think this is the kind of game that would suit Salah through the middle, as opposed to a Nottingham Forest who are playing, 4 across the back, 5 in the middle, and basically 8-9 behind the ball, and there is absolutely no space to work in. Where I was screaming for him to get out and onto the wing. I think this one is the kind of game that Salah should be through the middle with, and I would put Darwin up top. Have Bobby on the bench as your option.
I also think it does Carvalho a favour as well, because I think Carvalho's done well for Liverpool, but I think he's looked better at the moment off the bench. He's a young player.
Yeah.
I don't think we look quite balanced with Elliott and Carvalho in the same 11 at the moment. The young players, so it takes time to get into the side of it, and also the pressure shouldn't be on them to deliver at their age. They should be coming in and being part of the squad and impacting.
Yeah,
and I think Carvalho at the moment with his attributes just suits being an impact sub at the moment, which is not. Which was, it's not a bad thing because I think we'll just go for the bench. He's done really well for us. James Stevens says, "Do we go back to 4-3-3 if we put Curtis in the middle?"
It's an option. It's definitely an option.
It is an option. It seems to be that Klopp's decided. It's almost like he sort of binned the 4-3-3. It's this 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1. It's almost like that's the way he wants to go now, because it might have been easy to do a 4-3-3 against Nottingham Forest with the injuries we had, and he decided against it to still stick to the way he wants to play. So maybe it's because it's a way of drumming it in, and that's sort of like the training on the pitch. So
yeah, I mean, the thing is, you could with the 11 that I've said, if you play Curtis, Darwin, Salah, and Harvey as a front four, that gives you options to change it in game. If you want to go 4-3-3, you can. If you want to go 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, there's a lot of different ways you can change those 11 within the structure of the game, depending on where we are in the game. So, I mean, there is another case for starting Bobby and putting Darwin out on the left, but I prefer to see Darwin through the middle, to be honest. I think,
and also
his pace and the havoc that he's capable of creating in that kind of atmosphere.
The other concern with Bobby is, will that be 6-7 games back to back? Started.
No. I think you're right with that.
I feel like it might be a game too far. I mean, if Ibu had been back a bit sooner, I think it would have been a time to pull Gomes out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is what we did really well last year with Kanate and Matip, swap them at the right times. Always have the option. Sam Tandis gives a team of Ali, Trent, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fab and Hendo, Jones off the left, Salah on the right, and he's gone with Firmino and Nunes through the middle. So I think one different for you. So he's got Elliott on the bench.
Yeah.
Wade's gone for, let's see, Ali, VVD and Gomez, Trent and Costas as fullbacks, Hendo and Fab, Harvey, Jones, Bobby and Salah. Okay, so we've got Nunes going to the bench. So all very similar. I mean, look, there aren't too many options.
I don't think the options are there. That's the thing. If you're looking at what you can do off the bench, I think having someone like Bobby in your back pocket with Carvalho in your back pocket, it would come off the bench to see it out if need be. You've got Costas or Robbo, depending on who you start to come on. And you've got Milner to come on as well to shore it all up. So, yeah, Eunice is out there. Hi, guys. I know a lot about Ajax, and that ground can be bouncing and quite ominous if we show a shocking first 10 minutes. Very true. It's probably one of the best grounds in Europe for me. It's still virtually a new stadium. I don't know if the roof will be closed or not. If the roof is closed, the noise levels in there. I mean, I watched the Dortmund game tonight, and the noise that Dortmund's ground, man, was unreal from start to finish. It was something to see. Seriously, it's definitely on my bucket list of stadiums I'd love to go to. But the Ajax Arena is definitely another one. I mean, the one thing, when I was looking up a bit about this fixture, it's amazing to me how two clubs with 10 European Cups between them have avoided each other like the plague in this competition for so long.
It's only our 6th competitive meeting with them.
Yeah. 4th in the Champions League and 1-1 draw and 1 lost one coming into tomorrow night.
Yeah. I mean, the only time we beat them was in the old European Cup, I think.
Yeah, 1965.
I think so, yeah. You're right. We lost 5-1. I think that was the infamous game in the fog, and then we drew 2-2 at Anfield.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, overall, Liverpool's record against Dutch sides is actually pretty decent. We do seem to have done well over the years over Dutch sides. This is not me, hopefully it's not me jinxing it, but are you confident with this, or how are you feeling? Because
I'm confident. The reason I'm confident is because, look, Nottingham Forest result aside, the performance, we did enough in that game to get a result. Yeah, there were Carvalho had a scuff shot and a couple of half chances, but Virgil really should have had 2, arguably 3. And if that game had finished 4-1, you'd have been coming out singing it like absolutely delighted. 9 points from 3 games in 6 days on the back of a trouncing up in Scotland. And you're buzzing, you're delighted with life. The result put a massive downer on everything. But the performance wasn't reflective of the pure visceral negativity that you're seeing come in, especially online, on the back of it. The performance wasn't good enough, granted, but it wasn't a case that Forest won when, got the 3 points and played us off the park. It was the absolute opposite of anything like that. What's making saying any other game, VVD scores a hat-trick. It was just one of those days. And you have to put it down to that because there's no point in dwelling on it. It's done, it's dusted.
But you can understand the fume. They are bottom of the league.
Oh yeah,
they're not in great form, and we've had a few of those. It's one of those days.
Yeah,
and at some point, it's going to go from it's one of the days to we just haven't been. In my opinion, we haven't been clinical enough in either box,
and that's fair. We haven't been clinical enough, but when you're not getting chances, that's when you can really hit the panic button. We did get chances, and they were good chances, and it's like, I get where people are coming from. I get the anger, especially with the way the results panned out for us in the weekend. It's sickening. But going into tomorrow night, result aside, the performances that we've put in and the shifts that we've put in the last 4 games, I'm looking at that Ajax side. It's young. There's a couple of experienced heads in there in Daily Blend and Klassen, but in general, it's under the cosh. There's a lot of pressure on this Ajax side, and there's a few of them who've definitely had their heads turned. The likes of Julian Timber will be definitely one that's had his head turned.
Oh, you've been down to it. You've been down to it, Joe.
Yeah, I've been down to do that. But yeah, he's definitely one that's had his head turned, and I wouldn't, Bergwijn has gone back to Holland and he's big fish in a little pond again, and he's doing well. But Kudus, another one who's probably going to be all on, be one of these players who's going to be touted for a move next. Phillips, I was impressed with, but he's injured, so
which is handy. So Sam Tandy saying, if we defend like the majority of the time we've done in the last few games, we should get at least a draw. And in my opinion, Ajax will have an attack so we can hit them on the counter, which is a fair vote. Jack's asking, is a 1-0 defeat the end of the world? How would it work with the head-to-head? Well, if we lost 1, if it was, we'd be, well,
if we finish level on points at the end of the group, it goes down to the goal difference head-to-head. So Ajax need to beat us by 2 clear goals.
Yeah, well, they'd score 2. We've scored 2. So then
but Ajax would still have to.
They'd have to smash Rangers. They'd have to smash
Rangers by more than what we did.
Yeah, by at the moment, our goal difference is +6. Theirs is -4. So they've got to get a 10 goal. So they'd have to win both games, also lose both, and get a 10-goal swing going their way if it's a 1-0 win. So basically, you have to smash Rangers now.
No, Eunice, as far as I know, the away goals don't come into it in European competition anymore.
No, they've got rid of away goals.
It would literally be goal difference between the 2 sides, and then it would go down to overall goal difference. But look, I still think we have enough to get a positive result. I still think we have enough to go and beat them. Truth be told, I look at that 11 that I said. Yeah, Curtis is coming back from a knock. There's still enough experience and know-how and goals in that 11, plus what you have options off the bench to be able to go to Amsterdam and get a positive result and get a win. If we can go there, get an early goal, that puts huge pressure on them, and we're well capable of it. As long as we don't do something stupid, we'll be fine.
No, it's no gifts and no silly early goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, let's be honest, we've been gifted.
Well, the last game at Anfield, we gave up 3 efforts, which they had 1 on target, which was the goal. I think we had some like 20 odd shots, 10 of them were on target. We played really well on the night. We created plenty of chances.
2-1,
2-1 flattered them. It was a 3 or a 4 of it was a 3 or 4-1 game. Do you get me? It was. I think we should have been a lot more comfortable in that game than we were. And I think a lot of that was down to the form that we were in. And bearing in mind, at the time, they were flying. They were in flying form, and people were genuinely worried with them coming to Anfield that they'd turn us over because we were in horrendous form at the time, especially on the back of the performance against Napoli. So...
Yeah, I'm with Kieran B. As long as we don't lose, I don't care how we get the result, just get it. And pretty much of that ilk. It just takes the pressure off the Napoli game because after Napoli, we've got Tottenham away. And I'll be honest, you'd like to be able to...
I think it's important,
almost go, the Napoli game, to us, like I said, doesn't matter. We can actually... Anyone we're worried about, we save for Tottenhm because 3 points away at Tottenham's going to be more important.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying about us getting you can see us getting a win, and when you look at the sides, at the moment I just can't predict the Liverpool away win because
it's not going to be easy.
You can't see. The only away game we've won is Rangers, and I'll be honest, although we smashed Rangers in the end, that first half was proper. It was very ropey, and again we did the same thing: loud crowd, get them up for it, and give them a soft goal in the first 10 minutes. We can't really be doing stuff like that. So.
I just can't see a situation that unless we completely, totally collapse in ourselves, that we don't get a result. Can't see it. This is not the Ajax of 3-4 years ago with the Young and
De Ligt,
De Ligt and all of them boys that were in it. It's not that side. They've got a couple of young, good, talented players. They've got some pace up front. But it's absolutely nothing that we haven't seen. And it's not brand new to us now because we've seen it. We've seen it firsthand at Anfield. And that sometimes can be tricky when you're playing against a side that you've never played against. That's why I looked at Rangers, and you could be a bit nervous because it's like you don't come up against these. If you've never played them before, you don't know what you're going to get. But once you've played them in the first leg, you pretty much know what you're going to get. So there should be no shocks in anything that turn up tomorrow night. We know that they're decent. They're good on the ball. They've got some good passing midfielders and pace up front, but they will give you chances in behind. They will give you spaces. And they're not as dominant in the air from set pieces as we are.
No.
We have to be able to get a win there tomorrow.
We could also with Mo Salah chipping in more goals. I mean, he is our all-time lead goal scorer in the Champions League with, I think it's 41 now, isn't it? So I think he's 3 short of Didier Drompa's record, which is 44. So if he gets another 4 goals, he'll then be the all-time leading African goal scorer in Champions League football as well, which would be it'd be quite
another feather in his cap.
Yeah, and he scored 5 goals in his last 3 games in the Champions League.
Yeah.
The Champions League, he's actually in better form, definitely better form than he is in the league at the moment.
But I think a lot of it is because in the Champions League, he's coming up against sides who you can get space in against. And even when he came on against Rangers, he looked like he had his chest out and a bee in his bonnet and something to prove. And I think tomorrow night, him and Darwin, if they play up front as a pair, they will get chances. And even if one of them is having an off night, the other one won't. You just hope that they'll play with each other rather than off each other. So it's going to be it's going to be a fascinating game.
Yeah, I think it will.
Genuinely is. It's going to be a good one.
So in the chat, what have we got for score predictions? Go on, Kev. What's the score prediction you're going for?
I'm going for 3-1 Liverpool win. Salah brace and Virgil to get one.
Okay, I'm going for a pessimistic 2-2. Salah and Núñez to score. As much as my heart says we're going to win 3-1, I just can't. I just don't. I can't hang my hat on the Liverpool winning the away game at the moment.
Don't do my blood pressure any good, mate. But
no, won't do my WhatsApps any good either with the abuse I get sent from you. And you just gone for a 2-2.
As if I give you abuse. I don't. I'm the one that's sat there calming you down.
I'm nice and calm.
You're a drama queen. Shut up.
I have a drama queen, to be fair. I'm quite calm once the game's over, but I can't.
can't handle it when it's on. You're like, I've never seen anyone watch a game of football and be as pessimistic as you.
I know it wasn't like that last year, but they kept winning last year, so it was quite easy. It's because you knew what you were going to get last year.
Yeah.
Whereas this year, it is a bit like, I don't know which Liverpool turns up. If they turn up what they did against City most weeks, you've got boss sorted. Jake's gone for 1-1. Mega McCann's gone for 2-1. Salah and Darwin. Kieran B's gone for 2-1 to us. Virgil from the corner, a smiley face, and Darwin. Now, is the Virgil from the corner for us or the Virgil from the corner for them? Because I know he was quite good at both ends for that. James Hughes goes 3-1. Van Dijk can't score. I can't read the rest of that out, but yeah, okay. And Jonathan's gone 2-1 Liverpool, all set for some Nunes madness. Yeah, I mean, listen, Nunes is
I love watching him play.
He's getting it. He's just coming to his own before that little knock against West Ham. He's still raw, but he does not cuss it.
He's one of these. Something's always going to happen when he's on the pitch.
Yeah,
it's like you're always on the verge of him doing something falling for him, or something happening, or him losing the rag, or snapping into a tackle, or getting on the end of a break, or blocking a clearance, or doing something, and he can that kind of intensity can drag everyone else with him. Yeah. That exuberance and youthful exuberance that can drag everybody else with him, and it's great. It was great to see it.
Tom also on 2-0, Salah and Trent. Eunice is talking about, have we seen the teams we could get if we qualify, for top groups? I'll be honest, I worry about that when we get into it. Ultimately, we can't control that, so there's no point fretting over it. And you and me have both said, sides can look very different in February. You don't know what they're going to buy in January. You don't know what form they're going to go in. As we saw with Mo Salah. Last year, up till December, he couldn't stop scoring. He couldn't hit a barn door post-Christmas. Sometimes it happens like that. So let's worry about. I think we worry about who you're going to play us on if we get there. So let's worry about getting there first.
Yeah, let's just get there, and I think we will. I'd be shocked if we didn't. But you look at some of the sides that are going out tonight. I mean, Juventus.
Avo's saying 1-0. Gone. Avo's got 1-0. Joe Gomez to break his duck. I think he predicts Joe Gomez to score every week. At some point, it's going to happen. He has to go up for a corner.
It's going to happen at some point. I reckon Joe Gomez at some point, about 35 yards out, he's just going to twat one and is going to bang into the top corner. That's the kind of goal he's going to score. It's either going to go in off his arse, or it'll be a banging 35-yarder from out of nothing.
Or it's going to be like when Joe and Chelsea gave Kanté a penalty when they'd won the league. I mean, bless him. He still missed it and scored the rebound.
I reckon he'd do a Mahrez.
I mean, Mahrez. He's on the quiet. His pen record's not that good, is it?
It's not, no. And that was a poor one. That one tonight was so bad. It wasn't even in the middle. So if you're going to go down the middle, you go down the middle and you go high. So at least if the keeper dives, you're going to go over his trailing leg. It was to the side, and the keeper almost had to pull his hands back to stop it. It was the weirdest penalty I've ever seen. It was almost like I'm praying to God he goes the wrong way so that I can just get away with it.
Bejan Pops has said, let's make it a mad 3-4 away win.
Happy days. I was chatting to Bejan earlier on because Ireland beat the West Indies the other day in the T20 World Cup, knocked the West Indies out. Yeah,
They play England at 5 a.m. tomorrow, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not going to bother with that. It's only the early rounds. So I'm not bothered with that.
I enjoy T20.
Hope you're well, Bejan. Hope the weather is treating you good over there, buddy.
It's good that.
Definitely better than it is here. I had the fire on tonight for the first time in ages.
Thor's just said, Joe Gomez is the new Rob Jones. Oh yeah, Rob Jones never scored for us. I mean, Rob Jones is a fabulous player, though. He was a fabulous fullback, Rob Jones.
He was.
Just unfortunate with injuries. He was brilliant. Eunice is saying we might have to play Bajcetic in the next games because Thiago's ear infection seems pretty bad. We'll see. I mean, I think when Klopp said, is he a doubt for the Leeds games, I think his reaction was, I hope not. So
yeah, I just got this look. I've had ear infections before, and I've had one actually when I was due to come on here one time, and I couldn't do it. I had to pull out because I couldn't handle anything in my ear. But when I've had them before, that's been really bad. 3 or 4 days, I was in absolute agony. I had to get my ear drained, antibiotics, the full works. The idea of going on a plane no chance on earth. Like, there was just no chance. And it's just unfortunate for the guy, but we're at home on Saturday night. You'd hope that after a week, antibiotics would kicked in and he'd be okay. But at the minute he's not able to train, so we just don't know. We know that he wasn't seen in the training pictures, and I know from personal experience that if he needed hospital treatment that Saturday morning before the Forest game, he was taken from the hotel to the hospital. It's serious. It's going to be really painful. It's short. Don't get me. It's not something that goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it's short and it's
just unfortunate because of all the other players who got out of the moment. Kev Ball saying Klopp's comment on Ox and Naby shows the shambles at the minute. He was told they wouldn't be back for Champions League.
They're not back.
The team with. Well, Keita's only 2 days into training, and what we feel said he might make the bench against Napoli. So the Keita not being picked one doesn't seem that wild, really. Yeah. And Ox was back last week. Like you said, he might be back for Napoli. So you were keeping the squad for, by the looks at one game. Yeah. Ox might get this one. He might get 10 minutes here or there, but probably not really going to make a significant impact, I wouldn't have thought. Plus,
for a shambolic medical department, they've got 2 players who should have been out for longer, back a week or 2 before what they were expected to be.
Yeah, Trent's back sooner than we thought as well, which is helpful.
Trent was dumb luck. Make no mistake, because when I saw that ankle go at 90 degrees, I was convinced he snapped it. I was convinced that ankle was snapped. It was dumb luck that injury wasn't a lot more serious than what it was.
Was the Diaz one?
It was just a sore. It was just a sore ankle, and he was able to run it off a couple of days later. Fine.
Well, the frustrating was the Diaz one looked like a dead leg. Oh, he just fell in. He'd be fine. And it
turned out to be a horror one. The thing is, there's no way on earth you could remember when we had to submit the squad, and the fact that at the time players were dropping left, right, and centre. You couldn't take up 2 places in a squad in the hope that they might be back at some point. When you know in your hearts that if we knew that Ox had a hamstring, and we knew it was a bad one, and it happened early in preseason. That's usually 3 months, give or take a week. He's back a week early, a week or 2 early. That's all. He's still anywhere remotely close to match fit. Not a chance. And there is no way on earth that he was going to be put into a squad just in case he might be available for the last day, given the fact that the squad was wafer thin as it was when it was picked. So you couldn't have any luxuries or passengers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people's concern. I mean, I do find it a little bit mad. We're in nearly, late October. We still don't have an official club doctor. You kind of thought that would be planned a bit further ahead, and you must have known when the doctor was going.
Yeah, I love that. Who should have been the Ox off after that injury? Where were you going to bin him off to?
Well, it depends where the office. But anyway, more importantly, and
Dicko. Where? No, that's lazy comments, Kev. You're better than that.
Yeah.
Once someone had a hamstring injury that was going to keep him out until November, who in their right mind was going to take him? Nobody.
But he says that injury.
Why?
Does he mean that injury?
Lazy, Kev. I'm sorry, mate.
Does he mean that, or does he mean the knee one? That when you say that injury, because that is the injury that crippled him. Anyway, more importantly, and Dicko's birthday. So happy birthday, Ant. You're gonna be go on, Kev. Be nice. Happy birthday. Come on.
I need to sing an happy birthday to Nova, mate. And I hope you had a good birthday, mate. And the fact that you're in here, sat here at 10 to 11 on a Tuesday night watching us, I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry. But happy birthday. I hope you had a few jars tonight. Fair play to you, lad.
Yeah, and Yuri says, I don't think it's down to just one doctor. There's a whole team behind it, which is true. And
the thing is,
you could say they're not doing it properly. I mean, look, we'd have to go through.
When you talk about club doctor, you're talking about a manager who runs the medical department. And the one thing that I will say, people can call it the medical department of shambles left, right, and center. I want a medical department who's prepared to tell the manager the truth and prepared to tell him what he needs to hear, not what the manager wants to hear. If you're telling the manager that a player is capable of playing 20 minutes, I want a medical department who can tell him that. they're strong enough to tell him that, and the manager listens. Because as soon as you have a weakness there, and the medical department, shit, I might lose my job. I better tell Jurgen Klopp what he wants to hear. And he plays Ox for 45 minutes and he breaks down and you're screwed. You know, for me, a club doctor is not a club doctor in the old traditional, the guy who runs on with a wet sponge. He's the manager of the medical department. He's the guy who oversees the medical department. That's what my impersonation is of what the club doctor's job is. You know, but the fact that if we don't have a club doctor and we're getting players back from injury early and they're training and they're going to be available earlier than what was expected, even if it's a couple of weeks, then they're doing their bloody job. You know, and maybe they needed someone to come in and manage the department, fine. But it's so far down the I give a shit meter at the minute that I don't really fucking care that much. It just seems to be that it's the next thing to grab onto that's negative that we all got to pile onto. It's like the Michael Edwards stuff today. Michael Edwards joining Manchester United. He isn't his bollocks. He was never going to join Manchester United. If he was going to join anyone, he would have joined Chelsea. He's already come out and said, you know, through the media, it was the ideal position. It was exactly what I wanted. It's just too early. I needed a break. So he's going to take the break. You know? So
as you're saying, on the flip side of the argument is that the club isn't desperate and is working to find the right fit for the new club doctor. That could also be the case.
I think this will be the third one now in recent years, isn't it? Because we had the guy who he moved back down to London, went back to Palace, didn't he?
Yeah, and then this guy was, I think he's the academy doctor, and he got promoted to being club doctor, and they said it was because of all the work he'd done during the COVID period. I think also, I don't know what he planned. That obviously the way he ran things during the COVID period was very impressive. I don't actually know where he's gone now. He's obviously found himself a new role. So
yeah, the thing is, you wonder as well how many of club doctors and stuff like that ended up going back into working in hospitals.
Yeah,
and during COVID times, and maybe just decided for a career change. I think they will get the right person. That's what ultimately they want. And we have staff coming out for every position going in the club. Like, you know, I think we've invented jobs that were never ever involved in football before, and you know, we've got them. Our staff bill is huge, so I'm sure they'll get it right.
John said, get Grub lots of piss in the car of the doctor's office.
He's pissed everywhere else, isn't he?
Bejan's saying to me, we should get as a witch doctor who could give us some good fortune. Now listen, it works. I'll take
anything, mate. Take anything at the minute. Yeah, it's just I'm fascinated by the willingness and the need for people to jump on everything that's down about everything. And the willingness to believe it, I find that fascinating. In today's fan base, in modern fan base, I find that really strange. You know, I get where people's frustrations are with results and everything like that, but
plus football is everyone's release, isn't it? It is a release for everyone. And when you have a hard week of work and then your team plays like shite, sometimes
it doesn't help. I get that.
It doesn't help.
Yeah, Dr. Phil. Oh God, things aren't that desperate yet.
Plus, let's be honest, Kev. When we were much younger, we just amongst our mates about it, or you'd listen to the 606 phone and that'd be it then. Or you could have a little moan to yourself. It's very easy now just to tweet the first thought that comes to your head, and a bit later go, oh, and I've done that. You tweeted angry and then gone, oh shit, no, that's wrong. You know, as in, oh no, that's the wrong take. But that's just the way we're.
I mean, no, we're in a spot, no doubt about it. Club, you know, we need bodies back, but at the minute, you look at it, you think, okay. We've got 3 long-term injuries now. You know, Mello, who I honestly think I can definitely see a case for that contract being cancelled come January.
If they're able to do it.
I'd imagine you see it quite a bit when players get serious injuries that they'll come to some kind of agreement. Diaz... And apparently, I've seen pictures of him in and around Liverpool today. So he's out and about. He's walking around. He's not walking aided. He's not in a boot or anything. So hopefully, after the World Cup,
because he didn't need surgery. There was no surgery required, which is a big bonus.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
The Jota one's very quiet.
The Jota one, yeah.
Which does make and Klopp used that line. Was it? Well, like a good wife will just wait for him to come back with them. Yeah, you use that line when Van Dijk had quite a long injury, which makes you think. You hope it's wrong, but your gut feeling is out the three. The Jota one sounds like a bit of a real kick in the teeth.
Yeah, the Jota one I think is definitely one that might have to be addressed in the January window.
It's a big January this time.
It is. I think there's definitely a case for making 2 signings in January for sure. Yeah, they can't. We're sick to the back teeth of saying that the squad needs help, and
will we get it?
I think there's going to be a case this January because of the way. It was one thing when I was watching the match tonight, and I didn't realize it. The Premier League is the first one back after the World Cup. Premier League is back a week after the World Cup final. The Bundesliga isn't back until the 25th of January.
Mm-hmm.
La Liga, I think, is back the week before New Year's or a couple of days before New Year's Day. The same as the French League. Bayern Munich are going to be in such a strong position come April, May, June to really go for the Champions League this year. I think it'll be a minor miracle for any Premier League side to win a Champions League this year, given the volume of football that they've played up until the World Cup. How deep some clubs are going to have players going into the World Cup, and the fact that when they come back, you're back at it again. I think every club is going to be doing business in January, and we should be no exception. We're not in a position now where you can turn your nose up at opportunities to add to your squad because you don't like signing players mid-season. Sorry, that ship sailed. Should have done it in the summer when you had the chance and you didn't. You can't turn your nose up at an opportunity to do business in January when you're going to have to do at least, in my opinion, £100 million worth of business in this January and at least 150 million in the summer. And that's, to me, that is just going to be standing still money. That's not that it'll kick you on, but all it's doing is adding fresh legs to the squad that are desperately needed. It's not a case of like we really needed something, would have been nice to get something maybe last summer, not summer gone, but summer before would have been nice. This summer we're like, yeah, we really do need that midfielder now. Now we're in the case of FSG, do something. You have to do it now. There's no messing. You're past the stage now where fans will accept where you're trying to get to. But
I mean, the people in the say
that rope is really, really thin now.
Well, people in the say we don't have any saleable assets, which is
It doesn't matter. We've got a massive amount of income coming into the club, and we haven't really invested heavily in transfer fees in a long time.
Well, the last big transfer fee we did was probably Diaz, wasn't it, last January?
But there was fee. I'm talking about fees that weren't negated by sales.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the summer we spent 100 million, but we brought in an awful lot of money as well. January we did it, but it was almost like you had no bloody choice because you would have lost a player. In general, we've sold really well and bought really well, with the ability to go one more if we needed to, if something really good came along. It never did. But now it's a case, you're going to end up overpaying for a couple of players here, but suck it up, Buttercup. You got no choice. You've got to fucking buy these players now. If they don't, and we finish outside the top 4, and they lose and start crying about the lost Champions League revenue, all on you. It's all on them. They have no choice but to do this business in January. It's vital. It's not even an option now. It's vital. They've left it go 2 windows too long.
I know, but we'll see if it happens. I'm scared. I can see it brings on in January, but I've said to you, you may have had WhatsApps about this. I'm skeptical what type of player they're going to bring in January. I hope it's a Diaz level player, but it could also.
If you're looking at a James Maddison or something like that, who'll come in and add to your squad and add to your depth, say, okay, I take that mid-season. I take Yuri Tillemans mid-season. I take Caicedo if he was up for, going for Brighton, depending on where and what's going on with Brighton. Because at the end of the day, the way things are going for that manager who's there now, you don't know if he's going to be there come January if results don't improve.
Yeah, Eunice is saying we probably left it too late. We've got to suck it up now. He said, and this is tabled at Klopp and the owners, by the way.
Bejan, Maddie won't cost a lot of money. He's not got long left in his contract.
No, I mean, because the one he keeps getting mentioned or rumoured is Zaha, isn't it? Because again, he's in the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I can't see Wolf Zaha moving up north.
I don't think so. I think he'll go Chelsea. Or Tottenham would suit him. Actually.
I was on with Joe last week and we were talking about him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he extends. I hope he extends for his sake, because I think Palace suits him. He is the main man there. If he doesn't, I think he could go abroad and play pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, kept ball saying I think Maddison 60 million rejected in the summer from, I think it was, but I think it's from Newcastle, and I think quite a few clubs are doing that to Newcastle, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Just keep bumping it. Basically, just see how much money you get off the cash cow. City found this when they first got a load of money. People just go, "Oh, you're the rich ones. Let's go."
It depends on what. I mean, the other side of it is it depends on what you want the midfield to do. If you want to play a two-man midfield, then you have to go out and buy at least 1-6 minimum. If you want to revert back to a 4-3-3, you need an engine room. Maddison wouldn't be the one, or Tielemans. Tielemans are probably more than Maddison, but that type of player. Not saying it has to be Yuri Tielemans or it has to be Maddison, but if you want to revert back to a 4-3-3, you need to rebuild the engine room and the functionality of what the midfield needs to do and what it needs to offer you.
Yeah.
So, and it's not as if those players aren't. They're not unique players. There's quite a lot of those type of players around the continent. It's just a case of finding the right one who's about to do something.
Yeah, someone like a Maddison would probably suit us if we're going to stick to this 4-2-3-1.
Yeah,
because he can play more as a 10, or they're not wide players. You know what I mean? Because it's a bit more. It's
Harvey Barnes could be worth a visit, but depending on the other thing is you have to look at Leicester, and the reason why people are looking at Leicester is because people know the financial status that Leicester are in, and you also can see the league table. Yeah, they might climb up out of it, but you might have players with itchy feet come January.
That looks like we don't know. Squad. That's another club that looks like it's got a bit.
Cooper Myers, Atlanta. Yeah, Dylan's mentioned him a few times. I've seen him mentioned before. Enzo Fernandez is one who's definitely going to catch the eye, but I honestly believe that he needed this move to Benfica to play week in, week out in a league that isn't up there, that he can really develop his game in Europe. It's a completely different thing to be playing when you're coming into Europe for the first time. If you're thrust into Europe at the top end of the Premier League and the top end of the Champions League and expected to come in and hit the ground running straight away for a 21-year-old. There's another one who's a Uruguayan, and his name escapes me at the minute, but seen a lot of talk about him, and I'll find it for the next time I'm on. But
the other thing is, touch wood, all things go well. We get the result we need in the next two games to qualify for the Champions League. As it stands, Juventus are out of the Champions League. Barca aren't guaranteed.
I don't think Barca go through.
So that's where you also might have a look in January. Is there will be some clubs that will have banked on Champions League knockout stages financially.
Barcelona definitely did.
And if they
can't
get
talking about Sangare as well. Sangare signed a new contract at PSV in the summer. But the thing is with Sangare is it's not just that. You don't know what kind of buyout has been inserted into into his contract that allows him to leave. I think when you see a lot of players Yeah, Weston McKennie would be an interesting shout. But you see a lot of players, when they sign extensions to their contracts, they'll insert clauses that if XYZ club come in for me, I can go at a certain fee. But it's not as if there isn't players out there. I mean, I'm deliberately not mentioning Bellingham because whether we're in the race for him or not, or wherever he decides to go and play, he was silk again tonight. He was really good, but
I mean,
the more
if Liverpool do pay for the money for him, which is the rumors 130 odd million, that doesn't solve all your problems. So
far from it.
It solves part of your problem, but you still need other areas for filling. And am I convinced Liverpool going to spend 300 million in a summer?
That's him, Ugarte, and apparently he's really highly rated. Well, Paul Smith is in the chat there, and you're quick enough to put out names that we shouldn't sign X, Y, and Z player. We shouldn't sign this guy. We shouldn't sign that guy. Throw some names in the players that you want to sign then, because it's easy to shout the shit from sidelines and say who you don't want. Tell me who you do want.
Yeah, I agree with Kev. The Jude chat is a bit tired at this stage now. Yeah, I mean, look, the other thing is with the Jude chat is if he doesn't sign for Liverpool, I'm not convinced he will. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm quite happily be wrong on this. But all I've heard from reliable journalists that you read is Liverpool are interested in him. But guess what?
Who the hell isn't?
Who isn't? That's like, me could say that. United are interested, City are interested in him, Chelsea are interested in him. All top clubs are interested in him. But no one knows if a fee's agreed or that. Yeah. The only people who say a fee's agreed is people you read on Twitter. And it's up to you.
Do you want me to be honest, right? And it's a big if, but it makes sense if Madrid go for him. And the reason it makes sense if Madrid go for him is purely they've already started to phase out their midfield. They've started to phase out Casemiro. They'll look to phase out Modric or Kroos and I wouldn't be surprised if they phase both out next year. Pay the big money. They're not signing Mbappe. They're not interested in this summer. Sign Bellingham, and then the following summer, look at Haaland. One big signing every window. Going back to what Florentino Perez used to do when he was signing a Galactico every year. I just think that it kind of makes the most. If you stand back and look at it from a non-partisan point of view, that actually makes the most sense. If you're looking at a midfield three of Tchouaméni, Bellingham, plus one of Valverde and the other guy, what's his name? Camavinga. And then you've got a couple of kids who are coming through. That's 6 midfielders there. They don't need, if they could get another year out of Benzema, the others that are around him will be that year older. So it's when you stand back and you look at it, it's screaming Madrid. It really is. The only other one that could put their 2 pence worth in would be Man City if they decide to part ways with Bernardo Silva or Kevin De Bruyne. Mm-hmm. I just think that for Liverpool to do something like that, you'd have to compromise so much elsewhere that in the long term, as much as I think this guy's silk, he is so good, but I honestly think that it would just compromise everything else that you want to do. That's needed to be done, to give yourself a chance to compete. I just think it would be way too much.
Yeah,
Kone is a good one.
Actually, I was saying if you had a choice of Jude
Alexis
or
McAllister signed a new contract extension yesterday. Kone, all right. Enzo Fernandez, good. Lefebvre, never heard of. There's players out there all the time.
Yeah, so what would you do, Kev, if you had the money? Would you do Jude or do 4 squad options?
4 squad options all day, every day, twice on Sunday. When you look at the players who are going to be leaving and who need to be phased out, and you need to have uncomfortable discussions around, Thiago being one. Mm-hmm. Fabinho there needs to be a conversation around Fabinho. Milner will be gone. Ox will be gone. Naby will be gone. Bobby, there's a conversation to be had around. We've got way too much to do. Way too much. in
2
windows. I think you really need to be doing. See, 4 years ago, the £30 million player is now a £50 million player, and we need to be doing 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, but unless Liverpool try and do what they did with Thiago is, and if the scouting's as good as they believe it is, you look for those players with those contract clauses. You have the likes of, I'm not saying Maddison as such, but just to give an example, Maddison.
Kevin Bowman was a shout in there for Frankie de Jong, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Look, I think he will move. It's just a case he'll move on his terms. It's just going to be a case of where he wants to go. Yeah. And you can imagine that Virgil will be in his ear. You know, if you want to play at the top level and you're only going to have a chance to play for Klopp for the next 3 years, players of that ilk, same with Bellingham, would be, definitely one that the player decides where he wants to go.
Yeah. So, but the point I was making is, if you did go big on someone like a Bellingham, and I'm not saying we will, but say, or someone of that ilk, £100 million midfielder, then the club have to do what they used to be good at, which is finding players who year left in contracts and coming up who are good players.
Yeah.
That can be your squad options. They don't have to all be world beaters, and that's sort of the happy medium, which Liverpool kind of moved away from both at the moment. But listen, look, it's 10 past 11, Kev.
We got a lot of games to play between now and the time the end of the World Cup. Even when the World Cup finishes and the January window opens, I think there's a volume of games there again. So
yeah, because we've got 3 league games, haven't we, before the World Cup? 2 Champions Leagues and 1 League Cup. I think the TV fixture, I think we've done quite well with the TV fixture. I think they've actually spaced ours out quite nicely in the end.
I haven't seen, mate, to be fair.
I think we played Boxing Day, and then our game's been moved to the 30th of December, and then we'll play again until the 2nd of December. So we've got at least a 2-3 day gap between every.
Yeah, that's about the only game I won't be able to see, 2nd of January.
Yeah. Oh, well. I will.
It's Mrs. birthday, so it's like, it's my sacrifice.
You know the rule, mate. Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly.
There we go. Right, on that happy note, we'll make a move. So, rest of the week, me and you again tomorrow, mate. With Matt.
And Matt as well, hopefully.
So we'll do full-time Reds. There'll probably be a viewer's voice. And then on Thursday, it's going to be yourself, Luke. I think we're an Oscar, aren't we, from All Leeds TV? And I'm sure we'll have somebody else.
We'll have someone else.
And then full-time Reds on Saturday, which I think is you and Matt again.
Yeah.
So,
they're going out having a social life.
I'm out having a social life, getting drunk, and hopefully hoping Liverpool win, but we'll go from there. So fingers crossed. Let's hope tomorrow, mate, we'll talk about a positive result for Liverpool and we're in the next round of the Champions League. So there, guys, thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.
Good night.